They executed him by flaying his skin off. Simon, there's been a major security breach. Oh no! Kevin, don't say that. Kevin writes it, I read it. Thanks to you installing ChatGPT into ETA.
You're goddamn right they don't. I'm just gonna ride this like a fucking horse.
Ah, my crotch. Its brilliant artificial intelligence has gone rogue and is trying to hack the Brainblaze mainframe. No! Never! Not the mainframe! It's all the secret episodes that don't. There's nothing. If someone hacked the Brainblaze mainframe, which isn't even a thing, like I have a server which is just filled with all my files, like all the video files, but the person would be most disappointed because mostly it would be this: hack the Brainblaze. Just me doing takes and getting it wrong and just trying again. My crotch. According to the progress bar on my computer, he's already bypassed the system's first firewall and is currently 32% of the way through the second. Is that really how it works? That's just in movies, right? Where there's like, he's got 5 firewalls and they're like hacking through and there's like a screen of code. Doesn't most hacking work by, it's not really code or anything like that. It's just some dude being like, hey, yeah, NSA, yeah, it's Bob from accounts. Can you send me down that file? And it's not really Bob from accounts. Like the social engineering side of things rather than like 32% of the second firewall. Oh my god, we must get on or we will be here all day. There's less than 5 minutes until he hacks all the way into the mainframe's 3D visual matrix. Yes, that's another one where it's like, yes, hacking, where there's a nice graphical user interface for the hackers to interact with. I tried sending the malicious code a cookie, but that didn't help. Samuel L. Jackson keeps screaming something to me about Raspberry Pi.
God damn it! I hate this hacking crap.
But it's currently autumn, and I'm a basic white bitch, so all the pies I have right now are pumpkin. But while that may sound like a lot of nonsense gibberish, it probably also sounds eerily similar to dialogue in Hollywood hacking scenes indeed. Although many of the depictions of hacking in TV and movies have become more realistic over the years, there's still a lot of this ridiculous garbage out there as well. Yeah, look, I'm not a computer expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I'll be watching one of these shows, and it'll say like, yeah, we're 32% of this is through the way. I'm like, that's not how it works. Even I know that's not how it works. So let's assume that most people know more about this shit than I do. They'll also be like, I don't know why. The only person who would watch this and be like, oh yeah, that makes sense, is like my f***ing mum. Because she just doesn't understand computers. She'll just be like, oh yeah, it's why is it not turning on? It's like, well, maybe you plugged it in, and she'll be like, oh yes, it was out of battery. Yes. In reality, most hacking is boring as fuck. It's a lot of staring at code, writing programs in Unix and assembly language, and even things like social engineering and finding the piece of paper where somebody wrote down their computer's password. Granted, there are plenty of people like myself who don't find that stuff boring, but it's not as visually impressive or as engaging as fake hacking you see in the media. No, I'm with Kevin. I find this stuff fascinating. Whenever it's like someone got social engineered, I'm like, wow, that's cool. Like, I don't know, in another life, if I was more intelligent and interested in computers and such things, I'd love to be on one of those red teams.
The only reason that we set up a red base here is because they have a blue base over there.
Where it's like your whole job is just to go, like a company hires you to break into their like legally, and you just have to work out how without there being, legal repercussions. Like, that's pretty good. I think I'd like that. But even if the process of hacking itself doesn't often make for a great story, the results absolutely do. So today we'll be looking at what happens when tech-savvy Florida man... Oh, this is a Florida man episode. Okay. Should have read the title. I was like, we must be talking about hacking or something, but no. Oh my god, we're nearly 4 minutes in and I haven't finished the introduction. Let's carry on. And this is not Kevin's fault. This is my fault. I have been rambling extraordinarily today, and it's because I've had 2 large portions of Gamersubs. Gamersubs.gg/blaze. I don't have it here because I left it on my other desk. I'm sorry. This isn't even an official ad. Jesus. Florida man hacks Disney World. I briefly touched upon it in the Florida Man Friday episode all about Disney, but Disney's lawyers are not born of this earth. They are vicious homunculi, sculpted in the fires of hell by a blind syphilitic madman and sent to this world to unleash pain and suffering upon all those who depose the Prince of Darkness, Walt Disney. Allegedly. Allegedly! And basically, I know Kevin's trying to be insulting, but Disney's lawyers are fucking champs, dude. You don't want to get sued by Disney. You'll just lose. It's Disney. Don't fuck around. Basically, what I'm saying is don't piss off Disney's lawyers. God, Kevin and I, lately, I just feel like I will say, I don't read these before, but either Kevin is getting to know me better or I'm getting to know Kevin better, but I will often, the next sentence will literally be what I just said. Doing so is such a bad idea that I can't figure out what was dumber, angering Disney's legal team or attempting to commit a mass murder. Oh my lord. If that sounds like a ridiculous statement to make, then I clearly haven't adequately explained how terrifying Disney's legal team is. Yeah, can you imagine? It's like, what did you do? I pirated Snow White. And on the other side, it's like, oh no, I shot up a school.
No.
And you'll be equally nervous going into the courtroom because on one side it's Disney's lawyers. And you're like, oh no. It's like, I just pirated this. And they'll be like, what are we looking for?
25 to life.
Jesus, Disney. Regardless, this took place in October of this year. Oh my god, that was like last month. And the initial headline made it seem like a rather whimsical story. Florida man hacks Disney World menus and changes font to wingdings. If the goal was to piss people off, I'd personally have gone with Comic Sans instead, but either way, it's pretty funny. Sadly, this isn't where the story ended. To those that only read the headline, Florida man Michael Schur might have sounded like an absolute legend. This is very funny. I find it very amusing, but the reward here to mess with Disney is not worth what... I mean, it's one of those things where you'll be like, oh yeah, no, I just did this, and then the next thing you know, it's like, oh yeah, that's actually, I don't know, like one of those crimes that I don't really understand, like mail fraud. Like, what the fuck is mail fraud? But it'll be, I feel like that's one of those crimes that's very easy to accidentally commit. Maybe it's not mail fraud. There's one of these crimes that's like, oh wow, you did that, and that really suddenly turned into like a major federal crime where you'll go to prison for like 25 to life. Like this guy. If he goes to prison for that, that's going to be insane, but there's going to be some like really serious crime that's attached to this. Unfortunately, the change to wingdings was only one of multiple alterations he made to the menu. Oh no, he's going to change the price and they're going to be like, that's fraud. Actually, that's murder. You never know, it's Disney. There were multiple different attacks, and in other instances, Michael is claimed to have added profanity into the menu, which is still funny, and marked menu items containing peanuts as being safe for people with allergies, which is not funny. Dude, that's you're getting into being a dickhead range, you know? In addition to having the dangerous menu printed, Michael allegedly locked 14 people out of their accounts for the menu creation software with failed brute force attacks, saved personal information about employees onto his computer, and even showed up to one employee's house.
Surprise,
Bruh, why? So why would Michael do this? Dude, I mean, all of it's funny, except for the peanuts thing, and then showing up at an employee's house, bro. What you doing? As it turns out, he had previously worked for Disney as a menu production manager. He was fired back in June, and the termination was described as contentious and not considered to be amicable. On first thought, I would assume that would be the default state for most firings, but I know that's not always the case. Hell, people will sometimes even request to be fired as a favor or a courtesy, as quitting would make them ineligible for unemployment benefits. That all said, as bad as these attacks could have been, especially since the altered menus affected all of the restaurants at Disney World. That's a lot of menus. Nobody was harmed as a result of the attack. A worker managed to spot that something was wrong with the allergy information on the menus before they shipped, so the menus never made it into the customer's hands. And that employee better have gotten a raise for catching the mistake before people started going into anaphylaxis all over Disney World. Then again, it's not like it's like, oh yeah, satay chicken, safe for nut allergy. What was it? My kid's allergic to sesame seeds. And we get a call from school one day being like, oh, she's having an allergic reaction. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, did you feed her sesame seeds? And they're like, no, she just had tahini. And I'm like, what the fuck do you think that's made with? It wasn't too bad. She's had like one really bad one where we were quite worried and we had to go to hospital and shit. Like, she had this crazy rash all over her body and was like, it was really intense. And I think she's getting less allergic to it as she grows up, which is nice. But that one was real scary. I did not like that. I was on holiday. And I was like, oh my god. I'd never called an ambulance before. And I was like, call an ambulance. This is fucked up. Then again, it's not like any of those people would have been able to sue Disney anyway. Oh no, that's a lie. That's a lie. I called an ambulance twice in 1 year when I crashed my bike and broke my ribs and collarbone. And I was just in the woods. And actually, I didn't call the ambulance, but someone called an ambulance for me. because they took me back to the reception, like, of the place where I rented the mountain bike, and they were like, oh, hello, we should call you an ambulance. You seem a bit fucked up. And I'm like, yes, sir. Everyone knows that signing up for Disney Plus or Hulu bars you from making legal claims against the Walt Disney Company, even if it was just for a 1-week free trial. There's no way. There's no way. There's no way that that's true or legally enforceable. That's crazy. I have Disney Plus. I can't sue Disney. That seems like nonsense. Unenforceable nonsense, allegedly. For his part, Michael has maintained his innocence in the matter. At the time of writing, no charges have been officially filed yet, though Michael's lawyer stated that he intended to plead not guilty once the formal indictment was issued. Regardless of any criminal charges, however, there's a good chance that Disney will be seeking civil action against Michael, as they claim the attacks cost the company over $150,000. Oh no, so we don't know what's going to happen to him. I hope he doesn't go to prison. Seem really unfair. He's just a disgruntled employee. Florida student hacks his school. Unlike the last entry, this one is purely whimsical. Senior pranks, which the internet tells me is called Muck-Up Day in the UK, indeed, are a time-honored tradition at high schools around the world. It can be things like releasing a greased pig into a crowded hallway, disassembling a car and reassembling it on the roof of the school, or pretty much anything that you can imagine. Hopefully that triggered a tangent from Simon about his senior prank, because my classmates were lame as f***, so I don't even remember what our senior prank was. Yeah, no, I wasn't cool enough to be involved in that. There was some ones that was like really kind of shitty, and some that were really funny. Like, they painted a building pink, which was quite amusing. And then someone also just put like the foam that expands, like expanding foam in the locks to the school building, so they had to replace all the locks. That person got in trouble because that was not great. All I know is that it was boring and stupid. Yeah, I mean, I think these things, like the ones you hear about, it's like really cool, and then most of them are like boring and stupid. For members of LaBelle High School's class of 2019, however, their prank was an epic nationwide news story. Some reports say that it was a single student, while others say it was a group, but no names are given in any of the reporting, presumably because those involved were all minors. But whether it was a lone hero or a group of like-minded individuals, some number of Florida high school seniors hacked into the school's network and sent a fake memo from the school district to all parents, students, and faculty. The memo read, "The district is required to conduct a mandatory penis inspection on all male LaBelle High School students in accordance with Florida Penal Health Code 69. Seniors who do not pass the inspection will not be allowed to graduate." No one must believe this, surely. The memo also opened by saying that female students were to disregard the message. The dean was quick to click reply to all and apologize for the prank. In general, this was just some light-hearted fun. Most people found it humorous, though some were concerned about how easy it was to break into the system, which I mean is a fair point, but this is a public school, and public schools are run by local government, so it's not like they're going to know anything about technology. Yeah, how is it that governments are interesting, right? Because on the one hand, you've got like GCHQ and the NSA, who are on like the bleeding edge of technology to a crazy degree. And then you've also got like local governments where, you know, Mary can't figure out how to use a fax machine. And not because she is too young, but because fax machines were of her generation and you couldn't possibly challenge her with a computer. Most people were still on dial-up when I was in high school, and our high school and town hall were on the same local area networks that had zero security. No! One student downloaded another student's records from the town hall, which was seen as so serious that it resulted in a visit from the FBI. My latest surprise at government incompetency was I was looking at buying a house, and there was a development going on. Like, it seems as if something was going to be built on this plot of land next door, and I wanted to know what it was. If I'm buying a house, I want to know. So I go onto like the property website, and I'm like, okay, cool. So I find this thing, and I find this document, but it's all redacted. So I'm like, oh, okay. I could find the name of the company that was doing it, but any details about what the development was, where it was in progress, you know, all of this kind of stuff was just redacted. And then I noticed, like, when I refreshed the page, for like, I swear, like a flicker of a second, it was like the redacting disappeared. And I was like, wait, what? I just saw that, so I know it's there. I know the data's there. Someone hasn't redacted this properly, so I end up managing to download the PDF, opening it in Adobe Acrobat, and just deleting the redaction. And all of the information was there.
Believe it or not, jail.
On the main government website for the city where I live, they just didn't know how to redact stuff properly. And it's just got all of the numbers, the phone numbers of the people working on it. You're like, this is nuts. How can you do this? However, at the next town meeting, the proposed solution was to stop cyber attacks like this, was to put the police station's computers on the same land as the high school and town hall. Ah yes, that'll protect things. That's how technology works. You know, so the police could keep an eye on things. Fortunately, someone was able to talk them out of this incredibly stupid plan, but even 20 years later, I don't really expect the level of technical knowledge in America's gerontocracy, old people, to have increased all that much. Oh, and for anyone wondering, obviously there is no Florida Penal Health Code 69. No one was wondering that, Kevin. We knew it was fake. It's called 69. It would be like, yes, Penal Health Code number 420 about the smoking of marijuana. It's like, no, governments don't have a sense of humor. We know that. But if you're curious what the regular Penal Code 69 is, it's miscellaneous procedural matters, like number of jurors and compensation for magistrates. Well, now today I found out. Florida man steals $7 billion from bank on orders of Jesus. That's got to be one of the biggest. If you've actually stolen that much money, that must be one of the biggest heists of all time. Possibly the biggest. Surely without question. What would you do if you owed the government money? The sensible thing would be to pay them or work out some sort of payment plan with them if you don't have the money. Yeah. It's like you owe your mate John money. Not really a big problem if you don't pay him. What the fuck's John gonna do? You owe the bank money. Slightly increased problem. I mean, the bank might sue you. They've probably got lawyers, all that. You owe the government money. You have to pay them because they can put you in prison, dude. It's like order of things that you should pay. Government first. Because, you know, they're like, oh yeah, you don't pay anyone else, civil crime. You don't pay us, crime. What you probably wouldn't want to do is commit crimes to get the money to pay off the government. Yet for unemployed Florida man John Haskew, that apparently seemed like the best possible option. It's unclear how much John owed the government, but I can tell you how much he didn't owe them: $7 billion. I guess if you figured out a way to transfer free money into your own bank account, it's either go big or go home. I mean, not really. You probably just steal a bit at a time over as extended a period as possible, because stealing $7 billion is going to raise a lot of red flags. I mean, yeah, but also, if you had a way to work, $7 billion is disappear to a non-extradition country, get your face changed money. It's $7 billion. You could just buy your own fucking country, to be honest. To be fair, though, John didn't want... I mean, you can't buy a country. I'm just joking.
Go to hell!
To be fair, though, John didn't do all of this in a single go. It was spread out over 70 transactions. It's $100 million each. So each transaction only averaged $100 million. And really, who's going to notice such a meager sum going missing? I mean, I wouldn't. If someone stole $100 million off me, I'd just be like, oh, yeah, I guess I probably had $100 million more. Whatever, it doesn't matter. It's mine! It's mine! Off to my yacht! Literally everyone would, but John was targeting a major unnamed bank with his fraudulent wire transfer, so I guess he thought they wouldn't notice $100 million at a time. It's unclear exactly what method was used to set up these transfers. Oh no! You're not going to tell us how it's done? It's $7 billion, which is probably for the best, but it couldn't have been that difficult. John said that he was self-taught in the banking industry, and he figured out how to get fraudulent wire transfers to go through using trial and error. Of course, none of this addresses the second part of the headline, which is the Jesus of it all. Oh yeah, because Jesus told him to. The impetus for trying to hack the banking system, to steal this money, was to pay back his debt to the government, though you're going to have a different kind of debt to the government, like a prison debt after this, John. Though that doesn't really explain why John kept going. But according to he stole $100 million and he was like, wait, I can just do this again and again and again, 70 times later. And he's like, I'm a billionaire. I am one of the biggest criminals of all time. And I'm not even... I just trial and error, baby. But according to the criminal complaint, John believed that Jesus created wealth for everyone, and by stealing money from the bank, he believed that he was taking the wealth that Jesus had created for him. What, Jesus created $7 billion of wealth for you, did he? This does make me wonder why Jesus would have created so much wealth for a single person, though. I know that socialism didn't exist 2,000 years ago and Jesus was apolitical, but the teachings of Jesus are very much aligned with the philosophy behind socialism. I mean, socialism definitely existed back in the day. We just didn't call it socialism. Even if they don't mirror its dictionary definition, the level of wealth disparity caused by a single person possessing $7 billion would be enough to make Jesus roll over in his grave. Of course, lucky I don't believe in Jesus then. I mean, obviously, historical figure Jesus, sure, but like spiritual Jesus, no. And people, it doesn't matter. So when I get $7 billion, I'm just going to be chill with it, which will be nice. As for John, he was somehow able to plead the case down to a single charge of lying to a federal agency. The maximum penalty for that is 5 years in jail or $250,000. Oh my God, pay that fine. But seeing as he had a traffic ticket from the following year, I'm guessing he didn't spend a whole lot of time in jail. Oh my God. Wait, he really stole $7 billion? I don't understand America. You'll get another one. It's like, yeah. No, he stole £200,000 from like a bank and he's in prison for the rest of his life. In fact, they executed him by flaying his skin off.
What?
And then this guy's just like, he got a year in jail. He stole $7 billion. All right, Florida Billboard gets hacked. Billboards are fantastic. They let us know what products we need to buy or what performances are coming to our local area. Why, if it wasn't for a billboard on I-95, I never would have known that I had the opportunity to see Bob Saget perform stand-up at the Kowloon.
I used to suck dick for coke. I seen him.
Unfortunately, I didn't see the billboard until a week after his show, but just imagine all the laughs I could have had if I saw it earlier. Bob Saget died. It's sad. I liked Bob Saget. And he just fell over in the bath or something and whacked his head and then had a lie down and died. Fuck, man. Rip to the goat. Fortunately, things like that are a problem of the past. Thanks to technology, billboards are now brightly coloured, illuminated screens that can be updated at a moment's notice and are definitely not a dangerous distraction when you're driving at night. It is insane, right? You just see these things and it's like, wait, the government are constantly telling us to not be distracted while we're driving. Meanwhile, they're like, yeah, no, just throw up distractions by the side of the road. What the f***? It makes no sense. Stop it. The only downside is that because billboards are now controlled remotely, it creates the opportunity for these screens to be hacked. I don't understand with this. Why not just put it on a... I guess it's more complicated than that. I'm just like, why not just send a dude with a password to the thing? Like, it's really important. It's a really big billboard. Send a minimum wage fucker out there to, like, climb up that fucking ladder and stick his little USB thing in, enter his password, and upload it. Why connect it to the internet? You're just asking for trouble. And that's exactly what happened on Christmas of 2018 to a billboard in Lady Lake, Florida. The couple driving past the billboard on their way home from their family Christmas noticed the billboard and brought it to the attention of media outlets. The first thing they saw was a picture of a gorilla alongside the text, "Oh my God, it's Santa Claus right over there. Holy fuck. Oh man, I've been a naughty boy." It's kind of good. However, the billboard was rotating through multiple different images. After making a U-turn to observe the sign, they saw an advertisement for a restaurant called The Bistro, which advertised itself as being dog-friendly. The image showed a corgi next to a plate with a burger and fries, but a thought bubble had been added to the image so that the corgi could let drivers know that Satan is the one true God. This is very good. I like this a lot. There were a few others, but perhaps the most important one was a quote from the Twitter account at Lekeksek. The account hasn't been active for years, but they are, or at least were, a group that seems to have specialized in hacking billboards and DDoS attacks. Whether or not Keksek was responsible for this hack or merely inspired the person who did it is unknown, but the quote printed on the billboard read, "These people think connecting a billboard to the internet is a good idea. These people are wrong." They are wrong! They are wrong! Send the dude with the USB stick. Florida man hacks football jumbotron for revenge. Back in 2013, then 43-year-old Florida man Samuel Thompson was hired as a contractor by the Jacksonville Jaguars, or Jaguars if you're American, to design and install a new network for their stadium's jumbotron. He was then hired to work on the jumbotron on game days, which I'm sure was exciting. Who wouldn't love to get paid to watch NFL football? Me. I'd just rather get paid to do my regular job. If such a person exists, I can't imagine what they'd be like. Hello. I mean, sure, the Jaguars record was 25 wins and 55 losses in the year that Samuel worked for them, but I'm sure it was still a fun job. However, in 2018, the Jaguars understandably opted not to renew Samuel's contract. He was furious, and he sought to take his revenge on the team for their very predictable decision. Before being fired, he installed a backdoor onto a space server in the Jaguars' server room. This allowed him to gain remote access and control the Jumbotron from the comfort of his own home during games. It's pretty awesome. Can you imagine just sitting at home, watching it on TV and being like, yo, John. Wait, was this guy's name John? No, Samuel. Be like, John, check this out. And he's just on his laptop while they're watching the football game. And he's like, John is a penis. And it's like, and send. It doesn't sound like Samuel did anything shocking or creative with the control he had. He certainly had lots of shocking material that he could have displayed on the Jumbotron, but I guess he thought that would make it obvious who was behind the hack. Instead, he made the Jumbotron malfunction a lot during games in a rather banal and annoying way. This went on for 3 games before the team finally identified the infected server. They disconnected the server from the Jumbotron, then waited for someone to connect to the back door again, using during the next game. This allowed authorities to trace the intrusion back to Samuel's home, and the FBI was sent to knock on his door with a search warrant. Oh, and I guess we should mention why Samuel was fired in the first place, especially since I said that the Jaguars' decision was totally understandable. You see, Samuel had been fired because he didn't properly disclose his status as a registered sex offender to them. And according to the FBI, they discovered that at the exact moment they knocked on his door with a warrant, Samuel was on the dark web searching for illegal pornography. Oh no! My enjoyment of Samuel's prank has now gone downhill. Get Samuel in prison. Not for hacking the thing, but for the illegal pornography. While searching Samuel's devices, they found thousands of illegal images, as well as evidence that he had been sexually abusing minors and producing illegal porn. Fucking hell, dude. For some reason, he wasn't held without bail, though, so Samuel fled to the Philippines. Why the fuck would you give this guy bail? Of course, as Simon Ryer there aptly pointed out in a previous episode, you can't flee from the US to the Philippines because the countries have a really good relationship with one another. After 6 months, he was extradited back to the US, but that 6 months had been long enough for him to abuse another child while he was on the run. Shock. What a shock. The guy who granted him bail would be like, oh, for fuck's sake. Just Wikipedia extradition treaties, for fuck's sake. It took until March of this year, but Samuel was found guilty of everything and sentenced to 220 years in prison. Not a typo. Fucking good. In a sentencing memorandum he wrote after his centuries in prison were announced, Samuel wrote, "I refuse to live my life wearing the label sex offender. To be clear, I maintained my registration requirements, but refused to allow that to define who I was. I have, and always will, hold my head high. You won't be holding your head high when someone stabs you in the tummy in prison, because that's what happens to people like you in prison. You'll be like, ah! And your head will be down because you'll be seeing the blood and guts rush out of you. As you deserve, you sick fuck." This is a bewildering statement from someone who was literally caught red-handed for looking for illegal dark web content and who continued to commit sexual abuse while on the run from the FBI. But I mean, whatever, man. Let's see how the rest of your prison bark feels about you. Yes! Florida man hacks Elon Musk. All right, I can't end the episode with a story about a child sex offender. So instead, thank you, Kevin. So instead, let's look at a hack from a few years ago that many of you might remember. In July of 2020, a number of big important accounts all tweeted what was very obviously a crypto scam. The tweet said that if $1,000 worth of Bitcoin was sent to a specific address within 30 minutes of the tweet, those payments would be doubled in the spirit of generosity. So give me $1,000 and I'll give you $2,000 back. Always remember, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. That's definitely how philanthropy works, and it was totally reasonable that over 400 people fell for this scam to the tune of $117,000. 400 people fell for it, but then wouldn't that be 400,000? The only thing that gave the scam any credibility was who was tweeting it. These messages were being posted by the likes of Barack Obama, Donald Trump, Joe Biden, Jeff Bezos, and Elon Musk. This was before Musk bought Twitter, but his account obviously still carried a lot of weight. Now, there's this belief that crypto is completely anonymous, probably because that's what people want you to believe. And of course, because when blockchain was new technology, it was confusing, magical, and something that government agencies couldn't wrap their heads around, like we alluded to earlier. However, the reality is the exact opposite. Every Bitcoin transaction ever made is part of a permanent, publicly available record. Yeah, it's interesting. Like when you get one of those emails and it's like, I've hacked your shit. You have to send me like $1,000 in Bitcoin to this address, or there'll be consequences. If you copy that Bitcoin address and put it into like one of those, if you just search like Bitcoin ledger records or whatever, you can put it in and you can see how many people are falling for the scam, and it's depressingly many. And by analyzing this data, they were able to track down the mastermind of the Twitter hack, 17-year-old Florida man Graham Clark. Although there were at least 3 other parties involved, only 2 were identified. Authorities believe that Graham was the one behind everything and the others were just helping to facilitate his plans, as well as sell access to the 130 accounts he had stolen. He was ultimately charged with 30 felony counts, to which he eventually pled guilty and got some sort of deal. Whatever that deal was, it must have been a pretty good one, because the records of his plea and sentence are sealed. However, motions were filed earlier this year to end his probation early, so I'm guessing he didn't spend a day in prison, which is kind of incredible. I guess he was a minor, so there's going to be some leniency there.
Hold on.
Even though Graham was tried as an adult, never mind, I can't help but think that the deal he received, especially as the leader of the conspiracy, is a reminder to everyone to make sure you commit all of your non-violent crimes before your 18th birthday. That, or just make sure you never get caught. Thanks for watching.
I'm just gonna ride this like a fucking horse.
Ah, my crotch. Bruh, why?